You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steeler Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network here on a Monday, as we have got so much to get to over the next 2 hours. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. Matt, we have got a divisional round craziness to discuss.
Yeah.
We've got some Steelers head coaching search news.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of it.
Got some other jobs that have been filled and opened up across the National Football League since Friday.
Yeah, it's been a busy weekend in the NFL.
We got a college football national championship game
yeah,
tonight.
Yeah. We definitely got to preview that, too. Happy MLK Day to everybody
Happy
as
MLK
well,
Day,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
They didn't give us a day off, apparently.
They didn't.
Yeah,
and
well.
I mean, I almost had to ride a tauntaun here into work today because it's snowing and squalling and sleeting, looking like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker out here trying to make it through. Was it Hoth, right?
Yeah, that's Hoth.
Is
That's
that
Hoth.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
See, I'm a Lord of the Rings guy, but I got my Star Wars lore.
Yeah, you
okay?
can cut one of those open the lightsaber and it'll keep you warm, too.
We might have to in here today,
right.
although there's nobody else.
I felt like the fluid in my eyes walking from the car to here was freezing, like crystallizing.
I opened
the wind was just like,
and as we've shared before, our building, our studios are up on top of a hill.
Yeah.
So the wind is always whipping, and I opened the door of my car, and I thought the door was going to just bust off the hinges and go flying. Like it was like whoosh.
They always complained that this building was built wrong too. Like the door should be, like
yes.
you walk like right next to the building the whole way, and then like the wind comes stronger and stronger. It's like
Yeah, we could have fugazied this thing a little bit better whenever it was being built, but that's above our pay grade.
Yep.
We have got plenty to discuss
It's
today.
a freezing week too. I think it's colder tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, it's supposed to be single-degree temperatures, which is going to be brutal this week. It'll be a lot of fun next weekend, though. I'm looking good for pond hockey next weekend. Right?
Oh, fun.
And I think we're supposed to get like a foot of snow Saturday night into Sunday. But it's January in Western Pennsylvania, and we have got a million things happening here on MLK Day. Yeah, pulled into the parking lot. I was like, "There's nobody here. What's going on?" Oh yeah, it's a holiday. One of those days where we're in here and everyone else is working from home or doing nothing.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my lazy boy on my laptop, just doing work stuff, and my daughter comes strolling down. I'm like, "Why aren't you at school?" She's like,
You
I had to get a day off.
You playing hooky here? What's going on? Matt, a lot of moving and shaking around the National Football League that we have to get to. But let's start Steelers stuff first here.
Okay,
as we typically like to do. Couple updates. Some second round interviews and some new names since we last talked on Friday. Okay. The new name being former Packers coach, former Cowboys coach, Pittsburgh native, Super Bowl champion, Mike McCarthy was interviewed by the Steelers this weekend. According to the reports came out, let's see. Well, I guess the reports came out
that might have even been Friday or Saturday.
I think it was
been a
Friday
couple days,
or Saturday, and it sounds like that has already transpired perhaps yesterday with McCarthy and the Steelers. So that, and if not, if it wasn't yesterday, it'll be, I would imagine here today or tomorrow or very
near
soon.
future already happened.
So that's really the newest name that's been added. So, some of these candidates that we already discussed last week, they've gotten second interviews and things like that, like we expected would be the case. And we'll talk about that.
Because the teams that were playing, the first interview's not enough. No, I'm sure.
It's probably a 20-minute Zoom.
Yeah.
Half an hour Zoom, something like that, as opposed to
breaking the ice, speed dating as we were talking about.
Exactly, right. And then from that, you go, okay, yes, and no thanks, yes.
We got to start narrowing things.
We'd like to bring these 5 in or 6 in, whatever, for more formal sit-down interviews here at our facility.
Do you want to start with McCarthy, and then we'll get into those names?
I think we should start with McCarthy because that's a pretty substantial development here over the last couple days.
Yeah, because he's not like the others. Yeah, I mean, he's
much different.
Much different. And people might be shocked if you go look at his career, like winning percentage, and you mentioned that he's won a Super Bowl, and he's had a much more successful career than people want to give him credit for whatever reason. I don't really know why. He's really not far off in terms of accomplishments, the Harbaugh, Tomlin tier in terms of wins and success in the league. Now, we go back and forth on, is that the style of coach you want to go with, or do you want to go with the 30-something, 42-year-old coordinator, type? But there also is a McCarthy-Rodgers connection, too. I don't know if Rodgers is going to be back or not, but Adam Schefter, I don't know if we're going to get to that or not, but Adam Schefter reported that on a lot of the Steelers' exit interviews, they really want Rodgers back, which doesn't shock me at all from a player standpoint.
No.
Right.
No, absolutely not. And I think it was Jerry Dulac who kind of reported that they're not going to make any personnel decisions, Aaron Rodgers or otherwise, until they get the next head coach in place. And that, of course, that timeline lines up. But the
only thing I could see them doing is offering like Pierre a contract, something like that. Something along those lines.
Sure. For McCarthy, 62 years old. As you mentioned, that's quite a different profile, and
very different. Right.
Has been with a ton of organizations. Started with his first NFL job in 1993 after a few years at Pitt, and much different in terms of his age, his experience, his pedigree.
Yeah.
I mean, he's won 174 regular season games, 11 playoff games, 185 games in his NFL career. McCarthy has, where some of these guys have never been head coaches before. Obviously, there's the Aaron Rodgers factor, and then. This was interesting to me because when you bring in someone like Mike McCarthy for an interview, that his profile is much different than the other 6 or 7, very different than we discussed. Then that's my thought process is, okay, what's the reason for the outlier? Is it because he's just a Pittsburgh guy and he's looking to get back in the fold, and after a year off when he was with the Cowboys for a handful of years? And I don't want to say the Steelers are doing him a favor, but you get what I mean.
Right.
He's
close.
He's close by. We're familiar with him. Let's talk with him. Let's see what he thinks about us, and vice versa. And
they always bring Pitt kids in for draft interviews.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Might as well.
Might as well. Right.
Or is it they look at him as the potential? Maybe if you want to keep Aaron Rodgers for a year, he's the way to get that done.
Yeah.
Maybe, as you and I discussed, they look at McCarthy and they go, hey, if finding, procuring, and developing our next franchise quarterback is really goal number one, a guy like this is worth a really hard look at and a real conversation with, because
he has more of a track record.
My goodness, does he have a track record in that regard? So that, to me, is where it was kind of like a light bulb of like, okay, we'll see, obviously, how serious this is, if he ends up getting a second interview, all those things. But it's like, all right.
But it stands out.
It stands out. One, because it's such an outlier, and two, I think because specifically it feels like a little bit of a quarterback outlier.
Yeah, and clearly he would not be your head coach for the next 18 years or 2 decades. You know what I mean?
I think you'd be shocked if he did a Cowher or a Tomlin.
Now, I think there's I agree with everything you said, and I would have said it the exact same way. But other angles of looking at it are, we think we're really close, which I think you could go on either way.
We just won the division.
We just won the division. A change. Let's keep this thing on the tracks. Maybe reach out to Rodgers, another draft class. It doesn't mean you still wouldn't try to infuse some youngsters. And that still doesn't mean you're doing the exact same things, guys. The organization never changes.
Yeah, run it back, right?
I mean, he would still coach everything much differently. But I also wonder, if you're interviewing him, do you have the discussion with him of, we're really enamored with one of the defensive young guys.
Okay.
Do you want to be the offensive senior assistant or the coordinator in your hometown? We'll call you assistant head coach, pay you very well by assistant coach money. You're basically in charge of the offense, but you're also like the senior assistant guy. I'd get that.
I would totally get that.
Right. I mean, if he's Shula, or you're someone that's never been a head coach. Maybe he knows one of the two of these guys too. A lot of these coaches know each other more than people think, even if they weren't on staff together. They might have the same agent, whatever.
Yep.
And new coach can bounce stuff off you. What do you think about that? I'd be open to it. It's a stable organization. I know other teams have talked to him, but would you rather do that role or try to rebuild the Browns?
And at his age, maybe the answer is I'd rather do that role.
That's what I mean.
You know,
Right. It's a little less stress.
It's a little less stress, a little less spotlight.
Yeah, you don't go to the podium after a tough loss.
I'll be in I'll be in my hometown around my family and all those things. It's a good way for me to kind of spend the last few years of my career.
It's better than trying to get the Cardinals to beat the 3 teams that are in the playoffs, in the division,
And if I come in here and I help this new coach have success and I help them find and develop their next quarterback, I'm going to be remembered pretty fondly.
Yeah, right.
Like that'd be a nice kind of way out the door of my career.
It's not a bad gig.
And I mean, you look at it, made the playoffs almost every year he was the head coach of the Packers. And then when he was with Dallas, their first year they go 6-10, and then they go 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. I mean,
I've said a lot that there's not as many men walking the planet. I exclude women because we have not had a head coach yet as a woman that know how to truly win in the NFL. Tomlin's definitely one of them. Like if I give you chicken scraps, you can at least keep a team competitive. McCarthy's one of them. I mean, there's maybe 20 of them walking the planet right now that aren't retired. Coach Reich is 100. He's you know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, there's an art to it of how do you consistently win in this league?
I'm going to bring a pretty high floor with me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's one of them. I know most of our listeners would vote for young offensive coach. I mean, that seems to be the sentiment of what people want.
If you could get a Liam Cohen or a Ben Johnson type.
And that looks really appealing. They don't all hit, by the way, folks. But if you didn't, even if you went that route, I think everybody listening would still be like, I wouldn't mind having McCarthy part of the organization.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
That would be a best case scenario. You and I kind of talked about this a little bit last week of, man, we'd really love the scenario of Shula's the head guy and he brings Sheil Haas with him as your offensive coordinator.
I'm calling him Steel Haas, by the way, now. If he's the head coach, I'm calling him Steel Haas.
Steel Haas.
Yeah.
So you get Shula, you get Steel Haas. I mean, that. But could you imagine if you could get those two and a McCarthy as like your senior, associate head coach, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that, and
because those are 2 young guys who've never done it. They've never talked to the media. They've never organized a practice schedule, that kind of thing,
As much as the conversations with McCarthy could have been centered around a lot of different things, I think it's possible that was one, too. Hey,
yeah.
Maybe this isn't about the head coach, but maybe this is, we'd still really like to have you as part of this staff.
We have great respect for you.
We've got great respect for you.
I'm sure we know you.
We're leaning towards hiring X, Y, or Z defensive candidate. We'd love to have your experience on the offensive side of the ball.
You maybe even ask them, do you know any of those guys? And like, oh, yeah, I know Evero. He's unbelievable.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
You should hire him, or, whatever.
And, we look at your track record with Aaron Rodgers. We look at your track record with Dak Prescott, what you were able to do with those guys, develop those guys. And we think that, there's a real spot for you in this organization, albeit not as the head guy. I think there's certainly
it's a pretty good gig when you're 62 years old and, you can still stay very, very involved and have a lot of say, and especially if you're basically in charge of the offense.
Yes. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And so this will be an interesting one to keep an eye on and see how this plays out.
There's a method to the madness.
Or
maybe it is just kind of a courtesy thing. You're close. Do you want to chat? Who knows? Let's go to lunch.
Who knows? Hey,
let's go to Mount Washington. Right?
Lunch out of things is never a bad thing. But it's certainly something we'll keep an eye on. Let's get to our first break here. On the other side, a little bit more from Steelers specifics in terms of follow-up interviews, second interviews, that type of thing. And then we will continue this kind of crazy coaching carousel. We've got some teams that are off the board since we last spoke on Friday, and a new team up 79, up past Erie there in Buffalo that is now looking for a head coach as well. Plenty to get to. Just getting started here today as we roll along. It's Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Another quiet weekend across the National Football League has left us without much to talk about here on this Monday. Kidding, obviously, as we've still got a million things to discuss. Let's continue, though, on the Steelers coaching front before we turn our attention to the NFL picture at large. And, of course, plenty of discussion about a couple of wild divisional results over Saturday and Sunday. But, Matt, we know a couple follow-ups for the Steelers and elsewhere. So far, Steelers are bringing in Brian Flores and, of course, Anthony Weaver, who is the Dolphins' defensive coordinator, for second interviews.
Okay.
It also sounds like Jeff Hafley, who we discussed last week, who is currently the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, is the front runner for the Miami Dolphins head coaching vacancy. So he might be out of the equation here. Who knows? Maybe in the next 24 hours, maybe by the end of the week, whatever the case may be. So second interviews with Anthony Weaver and Brian Flores, and it sounds like Jeff Hafley is zeroing in on South Beach.
Okay. And we don't know that for sure on Hafley. I mean, he could still be in the equation.
A million things can change in an instant.
But, like, that's how it happened with Harbaugh and Stefanski was the reports come out, like, the day before he's the front runner or he's a leader in the clubhouse, and then before you know it, a contract's done and Schefter's reporting, Stefanski's the Falcons head coach. So I don't know much to add to that conversation, to be honest with you. I mean, I have no problem focusing on Weaver and Flores. I have no problem with either one of those names. I mean, the more research I've done on Weaver, he's one people probably know less about. He's very, very highly respected, really smart leader, has a really intelligent way of looking at the game. Got a lot out of a defense that wasn't very loaded with talent. I mean, it wasn't the best defense in the league. And I think Flores we know a lot about. I mean, the question is, reportedly, and again, I hate talking about these guys' personalities, he could be quite prickly when he was the Dolphins head coach. Mm-hmm. They also kind of told him to lose, which I don't think he was real fond of, in the tank for Tua situation.
I don't think anybody would be.
Yeah, I mean, he was not in a good spot there. But apparently he's not like he's reinvented himself, but he's learned a lot being around Tomlin for a year, as well as being around O'Connell in Minnesota for a year. And his defenses are really fun.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. And those both are interesting candidates to me just because of their background. And I think a lot of the stuff that you like, Tua has been very vocal. Some of the Miami guys have been very vocal about that prickly nature of Flores. I also think, though, at this point, that's been, 4 years since he was last, 4 or 5 years since he was last a head coach. As Dale Lawley would always say, people are allowed to get better. Guys are allowed to get better.
Yeah, right.
Like, people are allowed to change their personality, too, and learn from, hey, you know what? Maybe I was trying to be too much of a military, hard edge here, when at times you gotta humanize them a little bit. You can't just constantly be breaking guys down. Sometimes you got to build them up. I don't know, but
Belichick learned a lot from his stint with the Browns. How could you not learn from a head coaching opportunity or think I'm just going to run it back exactly the same way?
Yeah, plenty. Right? Pete Carroll when his time in New England, and then when he ended up in Seattle.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of that, certainly. So yeah, those are what we know with those two getting second interviews. I tell you what, have you ever seen the clip of Anthony Weaver talking about violence?
No.
You talk about his leadership and some of this stuff. There's a famous clip from his that came out. I can't remember if it was this season or last season. And basically, he was in a press conference and he went on like a 30-second rant about how football reflects life in a lot of ways. He's like, but one way that it doesn't is in this game we can solve our problems with violence.
Yeah.
He's like in real life, violence just usually leads to more violence. He's like, but out there on the football field, we can solve a lot of our problems with violence. We might have
to say that in every other walk of life. Right?
We might have to find that clip and cut that up because Steelers.
I like it. Right.
If he got hired here, that clip would be used on hype videos, people would absolutely enjoy it. But that's kind of what we know about the Steelers, the Mike McCarthy news, the follow-up interview news, and obviously we're going to continue to, ears on the grindstone, nose on the grindstone, ears open for everything going on there, and we'll continue to discuss all this moving and shaking every single day and all the latest.
And I think it goes without saying, too, with these two that are coming in for the second interview, Hafley, et cetera, these guys are talking to a lot of teams, too. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
It seems like every team, at least reportedly, has a list of 8 to 12. Tennessee's got 20 that are all basically the same names, so the musical chairs of it all is kind of interesting.
And as you've pointed out, we got
a new opening.
Now we have a new opening, and we've got a couple that have closed, but we've got a new opening in Buffalo, and we also have 4 teams that are still playing and a lot of coaches on those staffs, and that's just one of those you got to kind of hurry up and wait type things for those guys.
And there's something that got eliminated yesterday. I mean, would they have been part of the second interview crew, or would we even know that already if it was like
so say that the Bears end up winning in overtime last night instead of the Rams. Do we get, a bunch of reports today like Chris Shula is in Pittsburgh for his second interview?
Or would that be later this week?
Steele Haas is in Pittsburgh for or maybe it happens on Wednesday or something. But I would imagine that if the shoe were on the other foot and the Bears were moving on to championship weekend, I do think some of those Rams guys would be.
Are they the only two still alive? I mean, there's two from the Bears. Mm-hmm. They have not interviewed anybody from Seattle.
Nope.
But you could still reach out to Clint Kubiak. He's been getting information.
Yes, he has.
No one from New England staff.
No one from New England staff.
From Denver's.
And no one from Denver's.
Okay.
Yep. So just the Rams. Just the Rams
that we know of. You're waiting on are Rams guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's again just kind of a waiting game at this point for some of those guys, unless the Steelers would to make a decision to go in a different direction or go elsewhere after one of these interviews. But that's kind of what we know here right now. Matt, a lot of moving and shaking. I mean, I think the biggest domino here as we get into a kind of zoomed out entire league focus is Sean McDermott being fired this morning in wake of the Bills' loss to the Broncos. With that, also, Kevin Stefanski has put pen to paper and is the Atlanta Falcons' next head coach. Harbaugh, which we talked about Friday, but there was some delay there. That has also officially become official with Harbaugh going to the Giants.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Stefanski to ATL, Harbaugh to the Giants, and now the Buffalo job comes open.
Yeah. Now, we've kind of talked Harbaugh to death, but I think that's a really good get for them.
Totally.
I think that really puts them.
Let me ask you this, though.
Yeah.
You think there's any regret in his mind of like, oh, man, I wouldn't have minded it. Stefanski, too. I wouldn't have minded interviewing for that job. And Josh Allen and brand new $1 zillion stadium they're moving into next year.
I mean, I think it's now the best job. I would put it ahead of the Ravens.
That's
for those reasons.
I was going to ask you that at some point. Yeah.
I mean, or, hey, Tomlin was thinking about sitting out the year, but what if Buffalo calls? I mean, so it's a super appealing job.
Let's talk about that because I think it's super appealing for a lot of reasons. Josh Allen.
It's number one.
Number one. And just,
you win every year.
For the last 6 years, they've probably been the second best football team in the world.
I would say they have.
I mean, if you look at their wins, their losses, their playoff wins.
Yeah.
Matt, I saw a crazy stat that over the last 6 years, this is something I saw and I thought of you. I saw this morning. Some Bills reporter put this together. Over the last 6 years, the Bills have a point differential of plus 906. Okay? Their point differential over the last 6 years is plus 906.
Wow.
No one else in the NFL is even plus 600.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Like the Chiefs or the Net, and they're plus 590 something.
Right.
But the Bills,
plus 100 a year is pretty good.
Their point differential over the last 6 or 7 years, whatever it was, is more than 300 better than the next closest team. Like the Bills right now,
they're always like first or second.
They are the definition of the greatest to never do it. You know what I mean?
They really
right
are.
Now,
right? And they were when they went 4 in a row.
And they were with Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith and Darryl Talley and all those guys too.
Wow.
So
they're always the top of the league in like turnover differential.
Yeah.
And always the top of the league in point differential. Right.
So I do think it's clearly number one right now.
I do too.
But I think there's some real things working against it as well.
Okay.
One, it is you have to go right there and win right now. This is this is not
there's
you're getting some time
warming up
there's
to
no
it.
warming up to it. It's like if you don't get to a Super Bowl in 3 years, you're probably
that's
out.
why I think they would want a Tomlin type.
Or a Harbaugh or a McCarthy or
whoever the best coach is today.
Agreed, completely.
Who's going to become the best
completely.
Coach. Right.
You do though that defense needs a significant overhaul.
Yeah.
The skill position. I mean, aside
the
from
receivers are bad. The wide receivers are, and what they're playing with yesterday.
Terrible.
Terrible.
I don't love their decision to retain Brandon Beane, and not just retain him, but
that's
to
where I was going to go.
Name him president.
Oh, I thought there might. Okay, that happened today too.
So he got a promotion, actually.
Ooh, that's.
So
I don't agree with that move.
I don't
He's
either.
gone in big for a lot of things, going back to like Von Miller trade and things like that. None of which have been enough. And frankly, I think the GMing has hurt the Bills more than the coaching.
Completely agree.
Yes,
completely agree.
The wide receiver stuff since Diggs has been bad. Interesting. Okay,
so
he
will lead the
search.
He's promoted to president of football operations and will lead the search for a new coach.
Yeah, that's not as appealing.
No.
You know, because I have to work for him, basically, or with him.
And then the final part of what would give me pause with Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, I've made this joke in the past. I don't know if I've made it to you yet in the, 5 or 6 months that you and I have been doing a show together every day. The politician thing. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm about to be Wesley politician here.
Yeah,
all right? I'm about to be Wesley governor, Wesley president here. Do as I say, not as I do. Last week I told you I laughed when people like in Pittsburgh and Baltimore bicker like Pittsburgh's such a better place to live. Baltimore's such a better place to live. Cleveland's the worst place to live. Who the heck would want to live in Cincinnati? You know what I mean? Like that kind of bickering that people do. Like, unless you live in Key West or San Diego, like I don't want to hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know about living in Buffalo.
Yeah. The fan base is unbelievably great.
Fan base is unbelievable.
Right.
And you are moving into a new palace, a new state-of-the-art, gorgeous stadium. And you've got Josh Allen.
But if it's a tiebreaker.
But if it's a tiebreaker, and do I want to live in South Beach or do I want to live in Buffalo?
These coaches do have families and wives, and does she want to live there? You know,
do I want to live in Baltimore or Pittsburgh, or do I want to live in Buffalo?
Yeah.
As much as I just last week said I laugh when people, like, you think these guys care? They're getting paid $15, $20 million. Like,
right. And probably most don't. I'll coach Josh Allen on the North Pole.
But at that point, if I'm one of these coaches and I've got 3 or 4 options and some others that have really good quarterback situations too, and I just Buffalo's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a different city. I mean, it snows.
Cost of living would be low, I'd imagine.
Cost of living would be lower. Your money would go further there. But I'm one of these guys. I'm not like, oh, that city's a dump. Oh, that city's a dump.
Sure.
I think pretty much everywhere you go, you can find something fun to do. You can find good food.
Great suburbs in all of them, I'm sure, right.
But Buffalo is probably my least favorite NFL city that we go to. You know,
if you didn't do this for a living and you said you had to live in one of these 32 cities, that would be your last choice.
Off the top of my head, yeah. I mean, I'd have to think about it, but yes.
Yeah.
And especially,
maybe it's Green Bay
if you took out like cost of living.
Yeah.
You know,
like, that's where I just have to.
Like, my money goes a lot farther in Buffalo than it does in Southern California. But
sure,
it's not even close where I'd rather wake up and go to bed. Yes, Green Bay might be a decent one. That's because it's just such a small town and everything.
I can see where that's not for people.
But I'm like I don't want to make it seem like I'm dumping on Buffalo because I really don't mind it as a city, but it's not the nicest place to call home.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
it's a pretty good job though, all in all.
I
don't think they have a lot of offseason resources though either, draft picks and cap space. And
they
stuff
don't.
Like that either.
They don't. They're kind of in cap purgatory that they're still trying to recover from the last couple of years and some of those big Von Miller type contracts.
Chips in, right? Not getting there.
And so
what's crazy though, by the way, and this is probably true for the Loop missed kick. Mm-hmm. If they rule that Brandon Cooks catch, not catch, we're definitely not having this conversation today.
No.
And maybe not ever.
Maybe not ever.
You know?
I mean, if they make it to an AFC championship game, I think there's a real good chance that McDermott's safe. If they would have gone on, say in an alternate universe, they're playing New England this coming weekend.
Yeah.
And, they beat the Patriots, but they lose the Super Bowl to the Rams or the Seahawks. I'm sure McDermott would probably be safe.
Yeah. Would Harbaugh let left go if he makes that kick in Week 18?
Well, Biscotti kind of made it seem like because remember his comment? He was
it did seem like
for another week he would have been
right. As I say, until he lost in the wild card round.
So that Buffalo becomes insanely intriguing to me because I think they've got better pros. They've got more attractive assets than the Steelers and the Ravens. But they've got also, I think, bigger concerns, bigger cons. They've got more pros and more cons, I think, than Pittsburgh and Baltimore in kind of that how do you rank the opening jobs.
People will be shocked that I love the Steelers in on this, but if you take the quarterback out of those 3 jobs.
Oh, it's the Steelers.
Well, I would say the Bills might have the worst roster.
Yes.
Non-quarterback roster. Their O-line's great.
Their O-line and their running back.
Cook is really good, right.
But that's about it.
But the defense needs a lot.
A ton.
Yeah.
A ton. And again, they don't have great resources and capital to work with. They're going to be picking 25th, and they don't have an overabundance of salary cap space. And that's another thing, too. Like, it's a little bit harder to get free agents to go to Buffalo.
Oh, I would say,
than it is to.
They're not going to take less.
Than it is to Dallas or San Francisco or, So that's that. The Buffalo one's a very, very interesting one to me because I think their pros are better than most, but I think
I'd even
their
rather
cons,
coach Allen than Lamar.
I would, too.
Yeah. I bet for the for the duration of their career. I bet he holds up better long term.
But I would trust the Baltimore organization more than I would trust the Buffalo organization.
Yeah, especially with Bean still being the guy making the choices and building the roster and buying the groceries.
And again, I know I say I don't care about this stuff, all right, but I'd rather live in Baltimore than Buffalo.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying. But it's it becomes very interesting now. So let's continue. Let's close down the first hour, kind of final coaching conversation here.
Yeah, I want to mention the Stefanski stuff too.
Talk a little bit about Stefanski. I want to talk. I guess neither of us gave our thought on if we think it's the right decision to move on from McDermott. So let's cross some T's and dot some I's in this coaching carousel to kind of close down the first hour, and then when we return, we'll recap all these games and we'll focus in the final segment of today on the college football playoff later tonight.
All right, cool.
Plenty to get to as we continue to roll around here and try and dissect a crazy 48 hours across the National Football League. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Closing down the first hour of The Drive here on a snowy Monday in Western Pennsylvania. National championship game in college football is tonight. We'll talk about that in hour number 2, along with all of the wild results. Easy for me to say. Results around the National Football League on Saturday and Sunday. But, Matt, a couple more questions for you here as we kind of wrap up the coaching carousel hour on the first hour of the program. Sean McDermott out in Buffalo. Right call.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's almost an exact parallel to Harbaugh. Although Harbaugh had a little more success, has a little bit better resume. But still, it's one of those situations where you have a phenomenal quarterback and you haven't quite brought us to the promised land. Let's see if someone else can. I mean, okay. Unlike Harbaugh, though, I do think McDermott is considered a much better schemer on his side of the ball, defensive, obviously, that he will bring more to the table from that perspective. But I guess I get it. You would think if you're the Bills ownership, we should have pick of the litter. That we're not going to, we could probably get pretty much whoever we want. That's kind of appealing. I really think though, and it's not exactly what you asked, but it's like the success that like Chicago and Jacksonville and New England had directly after making a change, I think has a lot of the reason we got the 10 this year, which is the most I can ever remember.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
Like, I think
it's not scary to move away from my guys it used to be,
I think pretty much I think a lot of these decisions, some of them, it was obviously time. I think in Arizona, it was obviously time.
Yeah.
I guess for Vegas, you could make the argument it was only 1 year of Pete Carroll.
But they're the worst team in the league.
They're the worst team in the league. For the Giants, it was probably time. I mean,
they made a change halfway through the season anyway. So,
but for I
thought Miami was on the fence.
Yes, for the Miamis of the world, for the Atlantas of the world, for the Baltimores of the world, and I think now the Buffaloes too. They look at it and they go, look, everyone else is getting a new coach and it's working out really well.
Right. Yeah.
Let's go do it. And there's always some truth to that, but it can certainly go the other way too.
Yeah. There's a lot of hires that didn't work out either.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Pete Carroll, Aaron Glenn, and the Jets is already going to be on the hot seat heading into year 2. McDermott, he goes, was it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in Buffalo. Made the playoffs all of those years except for one. But just the one AFC championship. No, pardon me, 2 AFC championship game appearances. Yes, because they did 2 years ago and then they did back in the COVID year of 2020. 8-8 in the playoffs, 98-50 in the regular season. Of course, they did win the division 5 straight years before this past year when New England won it once again. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right.
But I give him a ton of credit because when he took that job over, they hadn't made the playoffs or won the division in 30. They were the Jets. They were the Dolphins.
They didn't have
They were the Panthers. They were one of these perennial, bottom of the barrel teams. Didn't have a quarterback. Hadn't made the playoffs in decades. Hadn't won the division in decades.
Them going to the playoffs was like Carolina going to the playoffs this year. Like, wow, that is not that good a team, and he somehow sneaked them into the playoffs.
They went 9-7 that first year. They got the help from the Bengals. Remember?
Is that how that went?
The Bengals that like 4th down, 50-yard touchdown against Baltimore that put the Buffalo into the playoffs. And then they took a step back the next year and went 6-10. But then they got Josh Allen. They were off and running. They won at least 10 games every year for 7 straight years.
Last thing on that, though, is people are very quick to forget. Josh Allen was terrible as a rookie and not very good in his second year either. I mean, he was a big-time project.
Yes,
he was a wild stallion.
Yes, he was. A lot of people thought that guy will never get accurate and it'll never work. It'll never work in the National Football League, and he had a ton of turnovers in there too. But, yeah, I'm not adamant that it's the right decision or the wrong decision, but I certainly understand the timing of it for Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we've been knocking on the door. We can't kick it down.
Yeah.
We've still kind of right in this era. We've got time. I think it's probably
this fan
time.
base understands. I mean, it gets frustrating when the same results happen every year, and unless it's one result. If it's a Chiefs result where you end up hoisting the Lombardi, man, we should win one more game a year. You know, I mean, the Steeler fans, we should at least win a playoff game a year. The Bills and Ravens, we should be in the Super Bowl every year. Like, not all these things can be true.
Right.
And Mahomes is still out there too, you know.
And that's kind of my biggest thing, though, is, you know, if they would have lost to the Chiefs again, like they did in 20, 21, 23, 24.
Like,
okay.
This is getting kind of old, right?
But it's like this really felt like your opportunity. And they have, Matt. They've won at least one playoff game every year since 2020. I mean, that's impressive. It is.
It is.
He's 8 since his first 2 playoff appearances where they were one and done.
That was a very good team.
No,
him getting them there is
absolutely
a success story.
I'm totally with you on that. Since his first 2 playoff appearances when they went one and done against the Jags in 17 and the Texans in 19, he's won at least a playoff game every year. He's 8-6 since 2020 in the playoffs.
That's pretty good.
But what's funny, too, is at the same time, while I know they've been to 2 AFC championship games in that run, it also really hasn't felt like they've been close. You get what I'm saying? Like, at least for the Bengals for a couple years, it felt like they were really close, and they made it to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know, for Buffalo, it's always been like, you're the bridesmaid. It's always kind of felt like they've been the bridesmaid.
Yeah, I hear that. You know, like where the Ravens, there was some stints where it's like, that might be the best team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they've also been too Allen dependent, which is also a GM thing. But you lay it out like that, though. He wins a playoff game every year. I mean, that's pretty darn good. But is that the ceiling? You know, the goal here is to hoist the Lombardi.
Yes.
Is that the ceiling, you know?
And I do think there's a lot of coaches in every sport that can kind of get you to this level, but not to the ultimate championship level. Yeah. And then it goes one of 2 ways. You bring in the guy who can, great, or you bring in the guy and you take a step back and you're like, oh, man, we wanted to have our cake and eat it too, you know? And we'll see for Buffalo. It's a big, big decision for them, big crossroads moment for that franchise, certainly.
It is.
So let me ask you this,
And
Matt.
ironically, they get eliminated in Allen's worst playoff game of his life, too, you know?
He
wasn't the only reason.
I'm glad,
but,
actually,
right.
and we can talk about this a little bit more in hour 2 when we talk about the games, but of all of their playoff failures, that's probably the one I put on McDermott least.
At least, right.
Josh Allen was really bad, and they had a couple calls I thought that absolutely were the wrong ones that went against him.
Yep, and his defense played okay. You know, I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't the reason they lost, and, you know, right.
But you might be right. It might be Terry Pagula looking around and going, look now, you know, like a lot of these teams are hiring new coaches, having success right away.
Yeah, right.
Patriots,
that's all we need
and
is
Bears and
just
Jags.
might be a new message. I don't know.
Even Seattle just hired their coach not that long ago, and look where they're at now.
Before you know it, right.
It's going to be very interesting to follow that, and just kind of now Steelers, Ravens, Bills, all needing, you know, teams that have either been in the playoffs and won their division this year, or like Baltimore that's been really close and really good for a long time. 10 open jobs in total, 2 of which have been filled. There's 8 now once again. My final question for you, Matt. Would you be interested in Sean McDermott in Pittsburgh? Would he be a guy that you'd want to see them interview?
He wins playoff games.
Because that's where I think it really comes back for me. Because TV and I were having this conversation before Nate got in here, before you got in here today. TV and I were talking about this. And I was like, I think sitting on that fence of like, was Buffalo right? Was Buffalo wrong?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell me right now that Sean McDermott is the next Steelers head coach, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be like mashing my head off the table. What are they doing? But I don't think I'd be overly infatuated or excited too. And I'm kind of like, okay, so maybe in that light, it's the right decision by Buffalo.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like throwing my hands in the air. What are they doing if they hired McDermott? But he would not be 1 or 2 on my list at this point.
Right. I mean, like, this isn't. If we were sitting here doing Cardinals, Raiders, Nation Radio, oh yeah,
heck yeah,
I want him every day of the week.
You see what he did? Like, they hadn't been to the playoffs in decades, and he took them there every year.
Right. But it is kind of more of the same. In terms of level of coaches, and I think everyone wants to see door number 2 and a different. And is that the right move or not? These are hard decisions, and boy, it's really gonna be a hard decision whenever they narrow it down to the 2 or 3 that they want too. I mean, I guess you definitely, I would say, talk to them. And what's the harm in that? Some of these guys are interviewing so many teams. But would he be high on my list? I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think I'd shy away from that. But I would understand it.
I'm
really on the fence about it too.
You think that is that power ranking number 1 of the vacancies now? Is it still Baltimore?
I think so.
NFL.com has Baltimore as 1A, Buffalo as 1B, and then the Steelers 3rd.
Steelers will be 3rd behind those 2 just because they have great quarterbacks.
And their reasoning is basically that the Buffalo Bills are projected to be over the salary cap, already.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they just have less to work with. Maybe a somewhat lesser roster.
Less to work with to
I was just going to say, I could go back and forth on Ravens versus Bills. I mean, the divisions aren't that much different. May is scary. Burrow's scary. But, you get to play the Browns twice, you get to play the Jets twice. I mean, that's nice too.
Sure.
Pretty equal. I guess I'd prefer Baltimore, but I would prefer Allen over Jackson.
I think I agree with that. I think that's a good way to put it. I think when you put down all their pros and their cons and everything on paper, I would give the slight edge to Baltimore.
Yeah.
But I would definitely rather have Josh Allen than Lamar Jackson. I know
too.
Josh Allen just played one of the worst games of his career in the worst possible moment.
Right.
Yeah, I think if I could have any player in the league, it would be Allen or Mahomes. And so
yeah, and that hasn't changed in 2 days.
That hasn't changed.
Right.
And then I think the Steelers are clearly close. Like, the Steelers are in that conversation as opposed to the Browns, Dolphins, Cardinals territory.
Yes.
Unless, as we've talked about, the only other thing that I would kind of take is if you are like in love with Cam Ward or you're in love with Mendoza and you want to argue it just from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's appealing. That's definitely appealing. Atlanta, I would have put like middle of the road.
Same.
Yeah. Better than the Browns, Arizona, for sure.
And if you missed it, Stefanski has been officially hired by the Atlanta Falcons, so you can take them off the list. And then we obviously
know I think
John
a really
Harbaugh.
good get for them.
Agreed.
I think that's a perfect fit. That's exactly where you should have been aiming. If he can deal with all the drama in Cleveland and win Coach of the Year awards, he should be able to bump them from where they were. Good offensive mind.
You're looking for someone to like, okay, let's really find out what we have in Penix and if this can work. I think he's good in that regard. And then, like you mentioned, like Bijan and Drake London and those guys, he'll find a way to use them well.
They could win that division.
They certainly could.
Yeah.
They were almost there this year. They lost it via tiebreaker this year. Hour in the books. Another hour to go. Let's recap a crazy divisional weekend across the NFL. Some wild time capsule type games. And then, of course, we will give a few thoughts and previews for tonight's national championship game between Indiana and Miami. I have been texting with Jacob Reck today. He is alive and ready to go. He's up in New York City tonight with his like sister and some of his buddies that are IU people that live up there. So
nice. I got a good buddy that's an IU grad that has gone to each game.
Really?
So he said it's the environment down there is incredible, and
it's got to be amazing.
Side note: my daughter got accepted from IU 2 days ago.
Well, maybe there you go. Tonight,
good sign, right?
Put it over the top.
She's like, they're good at football. I hear. I'm like, they are not always, but they are right now. They used to be, right?
They certainly are right now. In fact, we'll get to this later. They had never had a 10-win season in program history.
I heard that
until last year.
Yeah.
And now they're in the national bleeping championship game
insanity.
at 14-0 as a chance to truly have one of the great seasons for a program. If they win tonight, they're right 15-0, Big Ten champions.
I've heard people saying they're like Burrow's LSU team.
Yeah, except for Burrow's LSU team only had to win 2 playoff games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
They'd have to win, well, I guess 3. So not, but it's still a longer,
as impressive of a team and season as we've seen in a long time.
Unbelievable. So all that is on the docket in hour number 2. Halfway home, Uhler, Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 here of The Drive on a Monday as we are moving and shaking. And it sounds like the Detroit Lions have found their next offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, who was just with the Cardinals, 38 years old, one of those risers in the industry. So that would take, remember, that was one
Arthur Smith was involved in that, yeah.
That was to localize it. Arthur Smith was involved in that. But it looks...
That's a nice gig.
That is a very nice gig.
Yeah. You go do that for a year or go be like the
Eagles offensive line.
Eagles offensive coordinator for a year. That's a good gig, man. That's
Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I mean, that offensive line, that's certainly.
And he's considered a innovative dude. I mean, both sides of the ball I was impressed with Arizona, especially when Gannon originally took over and they had no talent. They were competitive through scheme. And that's something to be said for that.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
Certainly is. I think he's on the right path.
Mm-hmm. He's young too, right? He's like
38,
under 40. Yeah.
38. Yeah, only a few years older than me. What am I doing with my life? I'm having fun here every single day, baby. Matt, divisional round. A quintuplet? Is that 4? Am I right? Is that 5? Quattro? I'm trying to be too smart. 4 games this weekend, and really, other than that Seahawks-Niners game, I thought they all delivered.
How about that one?
In different ways. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't, but
I thought that we both thought that the Seahawks would win.
Yeah.
And we said we thought about the 7-point line was about right. 41-6. Good Lord.
I mean, they're a freight train right now.
Maybe that's the one that we can start with, because that'll probably be the one with the least amount of talking points.
I know you're on a group text thread with your buddies, and I am too, and there's a bunch of us on there. When Shaheed took the opening kickoff back to the house, I'm like, that might be all they need.
Would be it.
And it was. I mean, that 7 was more than they put up. I mean,
they could have done that, like you said. Sam Darnold could have dropped back and spiked it into the ground every single play, and they would have
advanced into the championship.
Still won 7-6.
And he kind of did. I think he only threw like 14 passes. I know he threw for like 124 yards.
I think a lot of people saw the score and they thought, "Oh, well, Sam Darnold's good. There goes that concern about him underperforming in big games." I mean, he wasn't bad, but he didn't do anything either.
They would have won with Drew Lock.
12 of 17, 124 yards and a touchdown.
He never was really asked to do much of anything, and Smith-Njigba didn't have to do anything. And
Kenneth Walker, when he's running the ball like that.
Yeah, he looks great. He's a free agent this year, by the way, too. But no, Charbonnet got hurt. The defense is nasty.
So good.
And Shanahan's really struggled against that team.
Yes, he has. That's a little bit of a kryptonite for him. Mm-hmm. But you're right. It felt like that one might have been over from literally the opening kick, and it was. And
so
interesting offseason for the Niners ahead here.
So their head coach obviously has Ravens ties.
Oh, you're talking about McDonald.
Yeah. McDonald.
Yeah.
Because I'm spinning this back to the Steelers just real quick here.
Go for it.
Mincher and Weaver would presumably run a same style of defense as what's going on in Seattle right now. And I might even know what they call it. They don't call it the Legion Boom or whatever, you know what I mean? But one thing that the Seahawks do as well as anyone, which is kind of like the goal, and I want our listeners to start thinking through this lens, is they stop the run out of nickel and play too high. And if you can pull that off, and a lot of it's because NURA or Hamilton or Petrie or or they can kind of do a little bit of everything for you. They swarm to the football, but that's a big thing that you're wanting in today's NFL. If I can stay in nickel, still maybe not shut down the run, but slow down the run and still play too high to take away the big play, that's what everyone's striving for.
completely agree.
Yeah.
And isn't that how the Eagles gave Mahomes and company absolute hell in the Super Bowl last year?
Yep, absolutely.
I mean,
a lot of this stems from Fangio.
With that
too high, cover four.
With that front four, just beat them up with your front four and play chess with your other, 7 pieces behind you.
Like the Texans play it stylistically different than Seattle. They're a lot of single high. They play a nickel too. But that's what everyone's kind of looking for, is if I can build my defense that I can stay in nickel a high percentage of the time.
I can stop the run with 6 in the box.
And keep too high in some way, shape, or form. Even if they're aggressive, downhill players, you're hard to beat. And Seattle's like epitomizing that right now.
Makes a lot of sense.
And actually, the Chargers did a good job of that too.
Well, you said Minter, right?
That's why I mentioned Minter, right.
Yeah, Jesse Minter, of course, who is the Chargers defensive coordinator, who is in the mix for the Steelers' next head coach. He's going to be in the mix in a lot of places, I think. But we do know here in Pittsburgh is one of them.
In Baltimore too.
Yeah. Absolutely. So 41-6, maybe that's the only of the divisional playoffs that, like I said, a lot of time capsule, a lot of crazy games that played out. Let's stay with Saturday. It was the first of the 4 playoff games, but it might be the one that was the most dramatic, had the most talking points, is still being discussed the most, and that is, of course, the Broncos' 33-30 overtime win against the Buffalo Bills. Matt, now that we know about McDermott, and we've had that conversation, the dust has settled a little bit. With man, I don't know, any amount of ball security from Josh Allen, the Bills win that game.
I think so too. I can see why he was crying at the podium. I left my teammates down.
4 turnovers, that ties a career high for him.
Yeah, but I can also see why he felt forced to do everything. You know what I mean? Like when you ask your guy to put the cape on, sometimes there's kryptonite too. You just can't. No one's going to play at that level every week, and there's no chance they even advance if he doesn't play a stellar A+ game the week before.
Absolutely.
And we know they're not even a playoff team without him being awesome. But he hurt the team more than he helped them, without question. That turnover at the end of the half was bad. Like some of them, you just have to be more situationally
Some of them,
aware.
it's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. I'm going to take a second here. There's 2 things that really resonated me big picture from the weekend.
Okay, talk about it.
And this is something we should talk about every year because it always holds true. Because we saw 4 bad weather games. Nobody was in a dome. Nobody was in SoCal or Miami or anything like that. And when weather's added to the equation this time of year, and you're playing what's definitely a quality opponent. You're in round 2 of the playoffs. None of these teams are bad.
No one lucks into the divisional round.
No one's bad. Everybody won or earned it. More games are lost than won. They just are. It's such a Belichick thing. It's such a Brady thing. But all those bad weather games in New England, Brady made fewer mistakes than his opponent, and he's got a whole lot of jewelry to show for it. But it really, really shows this time of year. We can mention like Caleb Williams. All the great stuff's great. But
CJ Stroud.
Oh boy,
we'll talk.
What's going on there?
You're spot on. In fact, you were mentioning group chats and buddies and everything. And I had told you last night I actually went out with a couple of my buddies to watch.
Yeah.
We kind of watched the second half of the Houston Patriots game, and then we watched the night game between the Bears and the Rams at one of our favorite watering holes.
Nice.
With some beverages and some wings and all that good stuff. I literally had that conversation with one of my buddies, TJ, last night, of like, it is amazing the resources, the money, the hours, the staffs that go into these operations.
Oh, yeah.
You know it.
The prep.
And I think the average fan knows it. But even if you think you know it, it's still
more.
100 times more how many video staff people they have and coaching staff people and scouts and this and that.
Their diet and their sleep and, especially a quarterback. Take all that times 1,000, right?
As we've mentioned, these billion-dollar businesses that all kind of operate in their own way but similar, that it still comes down to who doesn't put the ball on the carpet, who doesn't throw it. Like I was having this
in the wind and snow and rain.
We pay these quarterbacks $40-50 million a year. We pay these coaches $15-20 million a year. 1 million people on staff, 1 million trainers and scouts and video people and all this stuff, and it still comes down to who doesn't make mistakes. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Like even we'll get to the New England-Houston game and what a disaster Stroud was. Patriots played anything but a clean game. It's just the other team wanted it less. I mean, like made more mistakes. You know, 'cause the quarterback.
The Broncos made some mistakes too. Like
no question.
Bo Nix had a bad turnover.
Yeah. So the other thing that really stood out to me, that is a huge.
Yeah, that's point one.
That's
and
point
I'm
one.
Totally with you on that. That slapped me in the face last night.
So I tweeted this when I thought the Bears were about to win. Right? You know, they threw that in overtime interception, which, by the way, was DJ Moore's fault.
Totally.
Much more so than Caleb's.
Totally. We'll talk about that here,
yeah.
too.
But it dawned on me at that point, as they were going down to drive to advance, that Nix, who we know is not going to play, May, and Caleb were going to be 3 of the 4 Final Four quarterbacks in their second season.
In their second season, all in the same draft class.
And Jaden Daniels from that class was in the Final Four last year. Now, why that's interesting. I mean, that's intriguing. But what if next year's class is as good as that class? And I'm gearing this towards Steeler fans. You know, like
you're talking the 27 quarterback class.
Because we know this draft class isn't.
Yes.
You know, there's not going to be 6 guys to pick from.
No, but if in 15 months from now,
yeah,
you have Arch and Dante Moore and
Sellers.
Yep, he was the other big one.
Right.
Yes, Julian Sayin from Ohio State is eligible.
Right.
And you have 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 15.
Yes, and you're one of those teams that lands them. You're not as far away as you think. Is my point. You know what I mean? Like that it also might just go down Steelers aside. Is one of the best draft classes ever at the quarterback position. It could be Rivers, Ben, Eli. It could be
Manning and Kelly and Marino. Or sorry, Elway, Kelly, and Marino.
I mean, or even like Burrow, Hurts, Love, Herbert.
Yeah, it's a really good one too.
But if you can dip into next year's class, you could be a year away from being a Final Four team, Steeler fans. You know what I mean? Even if Cam Hayward's not still here, or no matter what happens.
I think it is never as far away as you think it is.
Especially if you're a good, stable organization. Right.
Totally.
You know, like Denver. I mean, Peyton took over a rough team in Denver, and now they could win it all.
Absolutely.
I mean, they just lost their quarterback, but
I mean, look how bad Chicago's been for the last stretch.
Exactly.
And they were a couple plays away from being in the NFC Championship game. The Patriots won 3 or 4 games the last couple years.
You make the right hire this year, and maybe next year you're able to get one of those names you mentioned, no matter how you got to do it. And it's not that hard to pull it off. I mean, you can't get to Mendoza.
No.
But you could get to
But next year you don't need to.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right. The Steelers.
Josh Allen wasn't QB1.
Right.
Pat Mahomes wasn't QB1.
It was on the locker room with Rob today. We were talking about it. And he kind of needed reminded that Chiefs team had won a playoff game. It would have been like they got eliminated yesterday.
They were 12-4 division champions the year before they drafted Mahomes.
Yeah. Won a game. Got eliminated this weekend. When I've got Mahomes.
The Bills were a wild card team.
Yeah.
And then traded up to get Josh Allen.
Exactly.
So you're right. But
it really resonated with me from the 4 guys from that class.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
And if we want to go down just a little bit more down that rabbit hole, say next year, all right, I hope nobody from Steelers ownership comes in here and puts a bullet in the back of my head for suggesting this, but say you have a losing season next year in year number 1 with your new head coach.
7 games.
Yeah. Not 3 and
Right.
Say you go 7-10.
Yeah.
And you're picking 14th.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And your young guys are looking good, the Porters of the world and that kind of thing. Maybe your quarterback's not good or whatever,
You're picking 14. Maybe you have Aaron Rodgers back. You do Mason Rudolph thing. You do a whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Will Howard.
Yeah.
You're picking 14th-ish, let's say. Then say this time next year you also trade Mike Tomlin for another first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got 2 first-round picks. You package those. You move up from 14 to 7.
Yeah.
8.
You can pretty much go wherever you want.
You get QB2 or
Yeah. You could get to 5 maybe,
I don't think you're going to get to number 1.
No, I don't think you can get to 1.
But you can get into the top. You can get into the top 10 and nab a quality quarterback,
a high-end prospect.
I think you can. You could see it start. Yeah. You can see that being a very realistic possibility.
And another thing I'm going to mention a lot when we get to draft season is Steelers have 3/3. Maybe one of those turns into a next year second.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You don't need 13 guys aren't going to make this roster. 11 guys aren't going to make this roster.
And you mentioned the Belichick and how they would just eliminate errors so much. That's another thing they did very well was they would turn a 4th-round pick that they had in the draft into a 3rd the next year. Or a 3rd into a 2nd the next year.
Right.
They did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Matt, last one before we go to break here and talk about the Sunday divisional games on the other side. Right call, that controversial interception for the Broncos at the end. Right call, wrong call. You can see it going either way. Okay,
I'm fine with it. I would be discouraged. It's an awful way to get knocked out. I feel for the Bills. I feel for Allen, etc. But I don't have a problem with the call.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I thought it was the wrong call, but I don't think it's like this egregious.
I don't think it's the worst call in NFL history. You got screwed. World's falling on you. I also thought Nick's played quite well. How
about with him breaking his ankle, though, man?
Can you remember anything like that?
Yes, it seems like every time the Patriots are good, stuff like this happens to them. Of course, if the Texans would be going, and then Bo Nix would miraculously, run through the door again to play against Houston, but he'll be out against New England. But no, not really.
Not like. I mean, like I remember.
I'm sure there's been examples, but
and we brought it up on my show, and Peacock mentioned. Well, remember when Purdy got hurt, and they were playing like a running back. McCaffrey was playing quarterback.
How about Carson Wentz and the Eagles, and still going on to win the Super Bowl with Foles? Now that was a little different because that was multiple. I mean,
but I can't remember not even knowing the guy got hurt during the game. It had to be like the second. The last play was a kneel.
Before,
right. Like we find out in the press conference, the starting quarterback even got hurt.
Imagine,
imagine
it's Saturday night and you're a Broncos fan and you're out celebrating and we're going to and you get that notification.
Couldn't be more happy, right?
You get that notification on your phone, man. Talk about throwing cold water on a fire. Oh Lord, yeah,
that's unbelievable.
That's because man, it would have been
either did it on the kneel down or the play before.
I thought they said this. It was the second play of overtime. I thought was what they said. But
so there was a scramble that people were trying. Everyone's trying to find it.
Yeah. It's a bizarre situation, and it sets up a weird AFC Championship game in Denver where I was talking about this with TV earlier. The Broncos quarterback Stidham. Yeah. First
Patriots drafted him.
First time that a guy will make his regular season will start a game for the first time in a season in a championship game. Since Roger Staubach.
Wow. That's crazy.
So it's been a long time since there's been a scenario like this.
And my NFL historian vibes, that Staubach year, him and Morton was a really good quarterback too. Mm-hmm. They actually rotated quarterbacks.
Okay. So Staubach had played, he just wasn't the starter.
He played a lot. Morton would start, and then the next series Staubach would come in, or they'd shift out like their wide receivers. Like people thought Landry was nuts, and he kind of was. I mean, that was strange, but right. I'm pretty sure that was the year. So he actually played a ton. He was almost a starter.
Okay, so he wasn't just coming in completely cold off the bench.
No, it would be like if Freiermuth got the start, you know what I mean, but never actually started a game.
Spencer Anderson or something like that. Herbig or
right. Herbig. Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I saw that pop up on Twitter this morning, and I was laughing at that one. That's wild. In order to be a wild AFC Championship game, wild NFC Championship game too, and kind of a tale of two different stories. Let's talk about those Sunday games. Let's talk about the Patriots-Texans. We'll talk about the Bears-Rams. We'll do that when we return on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, hour number 2 here of The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt, in kind of piggybacking off of it is amazing how much money, how much coaching, how much scouting, how much practice goes into these franchises for it all to come down to just who takes care of the football better on a Saturday or a Sunday. And that was certainly a huge part of the story between Denver and Buffalo. It was a huge part of the story between the Patriots and the Texans. 4 interceptions for C.J. Stroud.
Oh, man.
Along with a lost fumble by Woody Marks. So 5 turnovers for Houston. And Drake May had a interception and a couple fumbles too. So this is another kind of like, it's not like the Broncos played perfectly clean.
Right? Yeah.
The Patriots just played slightly cleaner than Houston. I mean, Matt, that I would say I've never seen anything like C.J. Stroud and what the Texans were doing there, but it was kind of similar to what you saw from Josh Allen and the Bills 24 hours earlier.
Yeah.
4 interceptions. The Texans had, 8 turnovers as an offense the entire year?
They were at the bottom of the league, right?
And then they had a handful against Pittsburgh last week, and then they had 5.
Terrible, right?
Like they've had as much in their last 2 games, playoff games, as they did in their 17 regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
That was the story of that one. Like, I don't mean that New England stinks or anything like that, but you turn the ball over. It doesn't
get much better.
You turn the ball over 5 times on the road, you are almost never going to win.
No. So anyone watching that game almost had to be flabbergasted with the mistakes made, period, start to finish, the whole game.
5 total fumbles, 5 total interceptions between both teams.
Yeah, and not all of them were lost. There were 8 turnovers.
Right,
but
yes,
I mean, the ball was on the ground, or there were tip balls all the time that could have got picked. I mean, it was just like every play.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud could have thrown
bad.
6 interceptions instead of 4.
Or he throws behind a guy that should have got picked, or blah, 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 blah. So first off, I don't want to overlook this. So I adore Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
But he has small hands, and he has had a hard time. He fumbles in the pocket a lot, especially when the weather's gone. So if you're looking for little negatives, none of these guys are perfect. Keep an eye on that. I mean, I don't think the small hands thing's an accident.
There's a reason that people talked about it at nauseum with Joe Burrow and Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. There's
people
a reason
people don't just make up stuff to talk. Well, sometimes people make up stuff to talk about, but not in the scouting world. And you can absolutely overblow it.
And I'd still take him.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and he's remarkably accurate.
I'll never forget me and you that Joe Burrow year, Kenny Pickett year. I can't remember which one it was, but they were so close to each other.
Yeah.
Matt and I were at the combine doing a radio segment, measuring my hand in the middle of our. Do you remember that? We had the tape measure, and you're like, no, Wes, you have to break the wrist. You don't just get to put it down flat. You got to put it in a 90-degree angle.
Been a while since I did that. There's a spot right here that you do arm length too.
Yes,
is where you go from. Right. Anyway, so the Patriots were far from perfect too.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that with May. Now, if I was Stroud's defense attorney, I'd be like, boy, I really could have used Nico. The run game was unbelievably bad, which doesn't make the Steelers look great.
Did a complete 180.
Yeah.
Woody Marks averaged 1.2 yards per carry.
Just totally shut down.
Yeah.
Now, and I do think the Patriots defense is really, really good and getting better, peaking at the right time. I'll say that, healthy, and compounding it. The one guy he could count on, Schultz, got hurt very early.
Very early. That really hurt them too.
So
no doubt.
all those things factored in, as did the weather. And when we previewed Steelers Houston, his dome versus road splits were noticeably better at home. And weather might be an issue with Stroud. And frankly, he may even I hope he has an injury, to be honest with you. I mean, he was terrible against the Steelers.
My goodness.
We previewed that game to no end, and I thought, man, he's getting a bum rap, guys. You're sleeping on Stroud. And he made me look dumb because I called him a double agent all last week. Like he looked like he was getting paid by both teams in that Steeler game. Then he was noticeably worse this weekend. Like, rarely do you see the body language and the unbelievably bad decisions. Like, I have no clue what undefensible, not like someone ran a wrong route. I mean, not all interceptions are created equal. I say that a lot. His were on him and not protecting himself or putting the ball away. I mean, like, I know it's like unheard of, but I think I would have had to put Davis Mills in at halftime.
Oh,
I mean it kind of ruins the whole vibe. You don't, bench Roethlisberger for Gradkowski, but still, he was destroying them. And rarely do you see something like that.
2 times in 6 days.
Yeah. I mean, that bad.
I don't remember, and again, this is another one of those like we were talking about with the Bo Nix injury and some of these things. If we really took 10 minutes to research it and think about it, I'm sure we could come up with an example. But I kept thinking, watching that game, our buddy Arthur Moats loves to say, you never crown a guy off of 1 year.
Yes.
Like, whether it's his rookie year, whether it's his third or fourth, like, you never crown a guy off of 1 year because a lot of guys can do the Kendrell Bell thing. I mean, you know what I mean? A lot of guys can have a great season and never then get back to that point or live up to it. Film on them, the book on them is out, and they're unable to adjust, all these different things.
I think you at least have to address, is Stroud that guy?
I mean,
rookie year was great.
That is the biggest. If you're Houston right now, priority 1 through 10 in your offseason is how do we get C.J. Stroud back to where he was?
Yeah.
Because
you wonder if it's like David Carr. You know, like I've just gotten beat
Same
down.
Same organization.
Yeah, or Tim Couch, or, you know, one of these ones where I just don't trust anything around me anymore.
So this is going to...
Tua is starting to go down that road. Tua is definitely going down that road.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a great one for Tua. And this might sound harsh. In fact, it probably does. But I was saying this to TV and Nathan before you got here today. I think part of it, to use a funny line, like I think C.J. Stroud, after his rookie year, got a little too high on his own supply.
Yeah, maybe. Like, this is easy.
You see, and this stuff always happens after a bad loss and a bad performance.
Yeah,
I know that. But, like, you see all these clips being unearthed of, like, him talking down to Caleb Williams, him on podcasts talking about how he's better than Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, and he's a top 5 quarterback in the league.
See, I didn't know any of those things.
Like, TV was reminding me, like, he's been spending a lot of time in the offseason with, like, some supermodel women that don't have the greatest reputations.
Okay.
And it's like, did he just get a little high on his own supply? Did he have that great rookie season and everyone told him how great he was and this is easy? And I think that
then everybody blames the coordinator in year 2, who the year before was getting head coaching candidacies, and I'm sure that might happen again this year, which I would understand. Like, if I was the owner, I might be like, all right, got this coaching staff, draft 10 linemen again, and we're gonna run it back with CJ. But in the back of the head, you're like, we might have to get a quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't believe I've gotten to that point with him.
After his rookie season, it was like, this guy might go to the Hall of Fame.
2 weeks ago, I'm like, we were ranking quarterbacks. I'm like, Rodgers or Stroud, or I mean, like Lawrence or Stroud. Seems foolish now. It's only 2 games, but they were as bad as you can get.
I am not writing him off by any means.
No.
I certainly think he can get it back, but they got to figure out how to do that this offseason. And he would be far from the first athlete who started out their career well, dipped down, and then got back. But man, it really drives home. Like, you almost, like, you never really make it. You never really arrive in the National Football League.
No.
You know, like every year you got to sing for your supper, man.
Yeah. And I felt like this, frankly, and oh, by the way, Houston's defense is still awesome.
No doubt. No doubt.
Like, Butte made a play or two, but still, you couldn't ask any more out of Houston's D. But I felt like this in the Steeler game against Houston for the Steeler offense. Same way not the mistakes and the embarrassing quarterback play, but I felt like Houston really, and this was true with the Niners this weekend, Steelers last weekend, against Seattle and Houston's defenses in those 3 games I'm referencing, that you're not even going to get first downs. I mean, like, everything is a struggle. I mean, like, the chances of you winning this game, you're not going to turn this thing around and get hot. You know, like, Shanahan against Seattle was like, nothing I call works. So I'm just going to do flea flickers and reverse pass. I mean, like, I got nothing else.
I got nothing.
Can't
run the ball, can't throw the ball.
Right. We don't block anybody.
What gadget plays we got here.
Right.
And then finally, Matt, what might have been the best game?
This was pretty awesome.
I think the first and the last games of the weekend were both really good, both overtime games. The Rams pull it out in Chicago after a crazy comeback by the Bears. Then that interception by Caleb Williams that you mentioned, but I think we're on the same page. That felt like DJ Moore just totally quit on his route. I'm not pinning that one on Caleb Williams. But the Rams find a way to get it done. That sets up a heck of a third NFC West showdown between Seattle and LA for the NFC Championship. But I would not be too down. Like, for example, if I'm waking up a Texans fan today, I'm like, oh no. You know, like,
like, this isn't so great.
I'm doing Axl Rose. Where do we go?
Yeah.
If I'm a Bears fan, I'm waking up today and I'm like, I got a headache and that sucked last night and I'm down in the dumps, but I'm feeling really good about the future still.
I'm excited. We'll talk about a lot of teams off seasons, but this would be one of my favorite ones to talk about because the defense is getting better. I was really worried about the defense.
You'll laugh at this. I wrote in my notes here on the notepad to ask you, who has a brighter future, Bears or Texans? Who would you feel better about being a fan of today? But I haven't even brought it up to you because I think
it's pretty clear.
I was like, it's pretty clear it's Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give the quarterback and coaching advantage definitely to Chicago. In terms of things that need fixed, huge advantage to Chicago. Rarely am I this guy, but that might be one of the teams to me that I would package picks to go get the second best defensive end in the draft. You know, go from like 25 to 12 and get me one more stud D lineman, whoever it is.
Or David Bailey or one of those edge guys that we've talked about.
Or a D tackle. One more stud D lineman. And I'm looking at that team like, they'll be fine. And you don't want to crown them after 1 year. I mean, because things could go drastically south. Don't get me wrong.
With the Commanders, but
boy,
they feel
built
better.
like they're built to stay.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Rams, I saw this today, speaking of not beating yourself, and they didn't play a perfect game either.
No.
And weather was, a factor in all these games.
Absolutely.
But no penalties in the whole game.
Wow.
I did double check it, but
I
heard someone say this.
Yeah.
And we're credited with no drops. So, I mean, yeah, they weren't perfect.
One penalty for 5 yards on the Rams.
Okay.
According to ESPN.
Yeah, they're right.
According to ESPN's team stats. But still, one penalty for 5 yards.
But in a game like that in windy Chicago, I mean, you played a pretty clean game all in all,
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And that experience of the Rams, I think, really, really shone through. They just, even in those moments where it looked like it was all going Chicago's way, they never blinked.
Mm-mm.
And now, Matt,
their defense worries me a little bit. Which doesn't mean I wouldn't hire Shula or anything like that for the Steelers, but they got run on a lot, and these last 6 weeks or so, they have not looked great.
I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But man, they have faced some really good competition in that time period too.
Yeah, they have.
But they did. They gave 160 yards on the ground rushing.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, only 17 points to that Chicago team in that stadium, in that environment.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, Matt, like I am very excited. Wow, the NFC Championship doesn't seem that thrilling in the absence of Bo Nix now.
Yeah.
Man, the NFC Championship, I think you and I have been talking about this since probably mid-December. But I think there's a real chance that the Rams and the Seahawks are the best teams in the NFL. They've been number 1 and 2 on our power rankings for a long time.
I don't know how you don't put Seattle 1 at this point.
It
took me a while to.
And you were one of the
Rams
believer, but I'm with you. I'm sure Seattle, with it being at home too, will be favorites in that one. I bet you the line's probably out already too. But
I'm guessing it's 4.5.
That those feel like they've been for a month and a half, 2 months, the best teams in football, and now we get them in an NFC Championship game. Seattle 2.5 point favorites at home on the opening line, which is about right. Oh, my goodness. You want to guess the cheapest get-in price right now for Seattle, L.A.?
$500.
$852.
Really?
And that's before fees, and we're talking the nosebleeds of the nosebleeds.
Just to get in the door, it's probably going to cost you $1,000 or so, yeah.
TV was laughing at me. We were looking at the national championship tickets for tonight earlier, and, like, to sit in the nosebleeds is like $3,800, $3,900. And TV was like, would you pay this if WVU was in the national championship game? And I was like, I'd pay $5,000 to sit in the lower bowl.
I wouldn't settle.
If I'm going to pay $3,800 to sit in the nosebleeds, or $5,000 to like get good seats down low, I'll pay $5,000 to get good seats down low. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But yes, it's not going to happen, so we don't have to worry about this, boys. Right. But if WVU was playing in the national championship tonight, I would not be.
You'd put a second mortgage on your house.
I'd be in South Beach, Miami right now with my tarp off.
I got a good buddy
about 70 beers deep, hooting and hollering.
Gone to every one of these Indiana games because he never thought he'd see this day. Yeah. I mean, how could you possibly think that?
I said to Jacob, I was like, I get it. You like his two best friends from college live in New York, and his sister went to IU too. So he's going to watch the game with them. I get
his crew, yeah.
And like that, flying to New York and back and doing that'll be much cheaper than Miami and going to the game. Like I get it, but I was like, man,
so a fun weekend, right?
Man, I don't know. If I were you guys, I might have taken out a second mortgage. I might have taken out a second mortgage on the house and gone down there because that's going to be potentially once in a lifetime type stuff, but. Divisional round in the weekend, or divisional results in the books, pardon me, and I'm with you, Matt. Like last night, I could not stop thinking that. Like, it is amazing how specialized the National Football League is in 2026.
Yeah.
Game of inches, all this stuff, and it so often comes down to just who doesn't make the mistakes, who's more buttoned up.
Rarely is it Seattle, San Fran, like, oh, this is over.
Yes.
Rarely.
And you know what, too? Even to that standpoint, probably wouldn't have mattered. But if you're San Francisco and you don't give up an opening kickoff touchdown,
right?
Maybe you get to the fourth quarter and it's a 10-point game still, and it's not a complete blow. Right. Could have certainly still been the case, but it's like.
But immediately it was like, oh no,
a special teams gaff, and they take it to the house, and it's like this might be over.
Might be over. It was
crazy how quick it happens. So. It's been a wild kind of 48 hours across the National Football League, from the results of the divisional round to obviously a lot more moving and shaking in the coaching department, which will only continue here over the next week or two. Also, one more piece of that I wanted to just mention. Jeff Ulbrich, the Falcons defensive coordinator, retained by Stefanski.
It's a really good move. Trust me, I had one eye open. Like, if the Steelers hire an offense coordinator,
he'd be a guy you'd be
really
interested
good.
in.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's really good at his job.
Okay, so you
So
like
I think
that?
that's Stefanski-Ulbrich combinations better. I mean, if I was Falcons fans, like, that's better than I was hoping for. That's great.
Might be the best coaching combination in the division.
Yeah.
We like Moore and what he's done at New Orleans,
right.
but
I mean, Evero's getting attention.
yeah, Ijaro Ivaro.
Yeah, but you're very happy with that if you're a Falcons fan, I think.
I think it worked out pretty well for Atlanta, considering no first-round pick, and they're not in the greatest position, but I think they've done a good job in shoring up that staff. One more segment to go on the other side. We'll cross some T's and dot some I's, and we will obviously give some thoughts a few minutes here to tonight's college football national championship game in Miami between the Miami Hurricanes and the Indiana Hoosiers. All that and more as we wrap this thing up when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Down the home stretch here on The Drive on this Monday, January 19th. And that means, hey, you enjoyed the last 2 days of football. We'll get ready for a third.
I have another one, yeah. Little cherry on top.
Little cherry on top. College football national championship. Can I laugh with you? Do you know who Paul Feinbaum is?
Is he a reporter, news guy?
He's almost like the media czar guy of college football.
Like a Schefter? Or more of like an analyst?
More of like an analyst media type.
Okay.
So kind of like Chris Berman is for football, someone like that. And boy, is he upset that the SEC is a third straight year without a team in the national championship. I saw Feinbaum on ESPN today.
Why?
And he's like, because whoever wins this is going to get overshadowed, especially if it's Indiana, it's going to get overshadowed by the NFL. One, you wouldn't be saying that if it was Alabama and Ohio State. And I realize Indiana's not Alabama or Ohio State. Right. But two, college football always gets overshadowed by the NFL.
You think no one's watching tonight and nobody cares?
That's going to be the case regardless. So I was just laughing at that today. He was like, Indiana winning tonight would be worst case scenario for college football. Would it?
I think it's a tremendous story.
I think it's tremendous. I think if you actually care about college football.
And you got the Heisman and first overall pick guy. Right.
Like, Matt, this might shock you, but I don't watch college football because I like the big brands. I don't watch college football because I need Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame in the national championship every year.
Could be, right.
I completely agree. And tonight is as bout of a refreshing national championship game as you could have.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one question. We were talking tickets.
Go for it.
What percentage crowd do you think this will be? I know it's in Miami Stadium.
Yeah. 60-40 Miami.
Okay. I don't know how big a school Miami is, but
much smaller compared to Indiana.
I'd say Indiana's massive.
They're like the third biggest. I don't think people know this. They're like the third biggest alumni network in the country.
I didn't know it until this week. I mean, frankly, because my daughter got accepted there, and my buddy was talking about, like on his way down there, he's like, there is IU stuff everywhere here.
Actually, let's see here. Number 1 is Indiana University. Number 2, Penn State. Number 3, Michigan. Wow. UCLA 4, Ohio State 5.
So
it was Penn State for a long time, but IU is now number 1.
There's the most alumni walking the planet right now of any university.
Over 800,000 living alumni. Approximate, they have 3,000 more living alumni than Penn State.
Okay. Wow.
That's pretty funny, according to the Princeton Review.
I'm guessing they're the 60%.
They might be. I mean, the game is in Miami.
I mean, just judging off my buddy, he's like, I'd have paid anything to your WVU. And if there's that many to pick from, and it's a good school, a lot of people graduate there, have money.
That's a very good point.
I'm going south instead of hanging out in
I think so.
wherever I live nowadays. You could convince me to go to Miami right now.
And I think it'd be a lot different too if Indiana's basketball program had been firing on all cylinders recently, and a lot of those alumni and people with money had been like, well, we've been going to Final Four trips
last year. They
haven't done any of that in decades.
Let's go.
So it's like our basketball program's been bad for a really long time, and look at our football program. I mean, we say hyperbolic stuff like this all the time, but it might be, they win tonight, it might complete the greatest turnaround story in the history of college sports.
Wow.
Like, they had never won 10 games before as a program until last year.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
You know, WVU's won 10 games as a program multiple times in the 21st century.
Right.
Pitt's won 10 games as a program twice in the 21st century.
It's not that uncommon for those level teams to win 10.
You know, like once every decade.
They may not be contenders to win the whole thing.
Once every decade or so, you have a really good year. You go 10-2. You know, you're in your conference championship game.
Yeah, Ohio State's on the schedule that year.
You dodge Ohio State, and Michigan's down, and you know, like.
You get 2 wins against
last year was their first time ever winning 10 games as a program in school history.
I mean, they're one of the worst programs in the history of the.
Their all-time winning record as a program is like 30-some%.
Yeah.
Like if you look at their program history win percentage,
it's like them and Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah. I mean, it would be, Matt, if Penn State basketball won the national championship in 2 years. Like that's the that's the type of turnaround. It's unbelievable.
It's more likely the Pirates win the World Series.
If the Pirates were to win the World Series in 2 years, but that would still be more likely because that's at least a professional team.
Right. There's only 32 to compete with.
There's no salary cap, but there's all the other parameters in pace. And yes, only 31 others to compete with as opposed to 100 some here.
If the Raiders win the Super Bowl in 2 years, is way more likely.
Way more likely.
Way more likely, yeah.
And then Miami, who is, of course, a traditional power and was great, ran this sport for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But hasn't been anywhere close to this in 20 years.
That's what's cool about it, right?
You know, they haven't been anywhere close to this in 20 years. So
I mean, when the U is the U, there's a chance that this was 1 versus 116 or whatever.
Yes. This was the LA Dodgers against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
This is
way more.
But even a bigger gap.
Kentucky basketball against Penn State basketball.
Yeah,
I mean, it's completely different world.
Yes.
It's
look at the pros they've pumped out.
It's the Steelers playing RMU, man.
Right, yeah.
Forget the Steelers against the Browns or something. It's the Steelers against RMU. And two head coaches, you know, Cristobal, that is a Miami guy, grew up a big fan of that program, won a national championship there as a player.
That's his dream job, right?
Oh, the great line that's been going around, and I want to make sure I get this right because I put it down here in my notes. When Cristobal got hired and he did his press conference, you know what he said, what his promise was to the Miami fan base. And I quote, "This will consume my entire existence." End quote.
Wow. And they love him, and he loves them.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
You know,
and he brought him back to prominence.
He's an all-time player for that program who has brought them back from the depths.
And they were the 12 seed, right?
They were the 10 seed, but that's because the two G5s that were 11 and 12. But they were the last team to get in.
Okay, yeah. Because if Notre Dame would have went, they would not have.
Correct.
Okay.
They were the last team to get in because JMU and Tulane had it via the scenarios of conference champions. Right. So, yes, there was a real chance that Miami was going to get left out. In fact, a lot of people thought they were going to.
But there was a strong argument to not even have them.
Absolutely. You could have absolutely made. Miami beat Notre Dame at the beginning of the season.
Which was probably the tiebreaker.
But every other conversational piece, Notre Dame had the edge. But Miami, as they probably should have, because they won, even though it was like back in August, they still won. And then obviously everyone knows Signetti. They're 15-0, could be 16-0. This guy was at JMU, this time a little over 2 years ago.
Grew up in Indiana, PA. His dad's the IUP legend.
IUP legend. Nathan's got his IUP shirt on today and here producing. And so, Matt, it was up at 8.5 points to Indiana at one point, now down to 7.5. But obviously, watch both quarterbacks because Mendoza's not going to be a Steeler, but he'll be the first overall pick, and that's always a storyline. Carson Beck could be.
He could play like Stroud and still would be the first overall pick, I think.
Yes. I think Mendoza could play horrible tonight and still be the first overall pick.
Unless he blew out a knee or something.
Great point.
Knock on wood. Yeah. But
otherwise,
Carson
Beck, though,
he's the interesting one.
He could end up being QB2 by the time this is all said and done. He's another one, like when we were talking in the Dante Moore, a lot of people are happy about that.
Yeah.
Ty Simpson, Trinidad Chambliss, but him too.
I don't know that Simpson's cemented as the two.
And there's been times in the past where Carson Beck has been a surefire mock draft first-round pick.
Oh, yeah, through his college career. Like going into at Georgia.
And what's wild is, because he was a backup for both of those, but he could get a third national championship ring tonight.
Oh,
he
wow.
didn't play, and it was Stetson Bennett was the Georgia quarterback.
But he was on the rosters.
But he could get a third national championship ring tonight. Carson Beck could.
Wow.
So obviously a lot to watch from an NFL eyeballs. Just from I think this is a refreshing, great. Yes, Miami is not some. If you're listing the greatest programs in college football history, they're probably in the top 10.
Yeah.
And at one point they ran this sport. But it's been a long time. It's refreshing. Ole Miss versus Indiana would have been the ultimate,
Well, that'd been crazy.
Neither's ever won a national championship and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is about as close as you can get. I'm really looking forward to this one tonight.
Who would you pick with the spread?
I think Indiana wins, but Miami covers.
Do you think it's within a touchdown? You're
Yes.
expecting. You don't think a blowout?
No, but I'll tell you this.
I didn't think Indiana would blow out any of these teams, and they blow out everybody.
Same.
Yeah.
And if Miami can dominate in the trenches, if they can out-physical like they did against Ohio State a couple weeks ago.
That's their path, right?
That's their
Those
path.
DNs
That's
and a couple
their
of O-linemen. And
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think
Indiana's been really good in the trenches.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
not having the quote-unquote,
Right,
dogs,
right.
like the 4 or 5-star talent.
Yeah.
They've been unbelievable in the trenches. So that's where really to watch. Miami's going to have 3 first-round picks on both sides of the ball in the trenches between Bain, Messidor, and Moyaga, the tackle.
I think Messidor's likely. The other two are
It's true,
the other two are
likely. He could be
guaranteed,
early
yeah.
second round,
Yeah.
but the other 2 could be top 10.
Yeah.
Indiana doesn't have that, but they've got the quarterback, they've got the coaching, and they are a team personified. It'll be a lot of fun.
They have some other guys that will get picked.
Yes.
But I don't know that anyone's like a round 2 guy even.
They might have Mendoza in the top 50, top 60.
I'm kind of, from what I've looked at, they have a tackle that may or may not come out that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very undersized slot corner that I was listening to Dane Brugel's podcast. They got verified. He's 5'8" and a quarter. And he's actually listed at 5'8" in the program, so they didn't even lie. But he's a great player, but he's 5'8" and a quarter.
D'Angelo Pons, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah. And Surratt's going to get picked pretty high. Like
the wide receiver.
Like
their linebacker Aiden Fisher will be drafted too.
Yeah, he's another one.
But it is a tale of 2 different programs. One looking to restore glory. One looking to get to the top of the mountain for the first time. And I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm psyched, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Tomorrow on the program, Matt, more moving and shaking on the coaching front. We'll recap tonight's action.
I can see another domino falling in the coaching world in the next day or 2.
I think it's certainly possible. And maybe we'll get into the remaining 4 teams, why each one could win the Super Bowl, why each one won't win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
But we'll do all that and more tomorrow. Thanks to Nathan for producing on the radio side, TV, Tyler V on the video side, keeping us handsome on YouTube. And for Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.